Hello, fourth grade students in B202. I'm sorry that we can't be at school today, and I'm not sure when we'll be able to get back. I'm hoping sometime in the near future, but I've been thinking about ways that we can continue to do our work because I don't want it to be a waste of time for you when we're out of school. So I'm sure that you're busy at home, helping your parents, doing jobs around the house. Keep doing that, keeping as helpful as you can to your parents and your family. One thing I did think is that we might be able to do some work through videos on the internet. So today I thought I would do an experiment. I would read a book. It is reading month, and I've got one of my favorite books here. It's called The Orphan Boy, so I thought I would try reading it. If you have some ideas, which I know whenever we read and work together, get a lot of interesting and valuable ideas from you all. Share some of your ideas in the comment section with me, and I'll get back to you on them. All right, so the book I have today is called The Orphan Boy. It's by Talalwa M. Malel, and it's illustrated by Paul Moran. It takes place in Africa, in the area around Tanzania and Kenya, East Africa. So it's really a fascinating story. A couple of concepts that you need to be thinking of or aware of. The first one is drought. And as we read, there's definitely going to be some context clues to help you figure out what a drought is. But that's going to be really important. When we get there, I'll stop and talk a little bit more about it. And of course, the other concept, orphan boy, orphan being a child whose parents unfortunately are gone or dead, a child who's been left completely on their own. So here's the story. As he had done every night of his life, the old man gazed deep into the heavens. He had spent so much time scanning the night sky that he knew every star it held. He loved the stars as if they were his children. He always felt less lonely when the sky was clear and the stars formed a glowing canopy over the plains. Tonight, he noticed, one of the stars was missing. Like a worried father, the old man searched the darkness for his missing star. Just then, he heard the sound of footsteps. Startled, the old man looked down, and there before him stood a boy. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Keelican," replied the boy. "I am an orphan, and I've traveled countless miles in search of a home." The man's eyes shone with excitement. "I am childless and live alone. I would be most happy to have you as a companion. You are welcome to live here as long as you want." And forgetting all about the missing star, the old man set to making a bed next to his own for the boy to sleep on. When he woke up the next morning, many surprises greeted the old man. Waiting for him in his favorite bowl was steaming hot tea, made with lots of milk, just the way he liked it. The cows had been milked, the compound and the cattle pen had been swept out. But Keelican was nowhere in sight. He had taken the cattle out to pasture. So where they live, in the village that they live, they keep cows or cattle. And one of the very important jobs is to take the cattle out to pasture. Pasture is just a field where there's grass, because that's what cows eat. They eat grass. So the boy has taken the cows out to pasture where they can eat, and I don't know, maybe they probably have water out there too. In the evening, when Keelican returned, the old man was waiting. "It takes me forever to do all the morning chores," he said. "How did you do everything in time to take the cattle to pasture by sunrise?" The boy smiled a mysterious smile. "The day begins at dawn," he replied. "I get my energy from the first light of day." He chuckled. "Besides, I'm much younger than you are." The old man was still puzzled, but he decided not to ask any more questions. After all, Keelican had been a great help, and he was good company too. They spent the rest of the evening sitting quietly together out under the stars. Just before going to bed, the boy said, "We're almost out of water. I'll take the donkeys to the spring in the morning." "Good," the old man replied. "While you do that, I'll look after the cattle." The boy shook his head. "No, no, I'll fetch the water and take the cattle to pasture. As long as I'm here, I'll do all the work for you." It was the old man's turn to chuckle. "Look, it takes 2 whole days to go to the spring and back, and it takes another day just to load the donkeys with water. That's a big job for a boy your size. You can't possibly care for the cattle if you're going to the spring." Again, Keelan looked mysterious. "If you trust me, I can do it," he said. So the old man and Keelan obviously are in a village that doesn't have running water. Like, we can just go into our bathroom or the kitchen and turn on the water and the water comes on. Well, in some places, they don't have running water like that. If you want water, you've got to dig a well and get water out of a well, or go to a spring in this case. They must not even have a well in their village, because it says it takes them a day to walk to the area where they get water. And then they load a donkey with a supply of water to last them several days. By sunrise the next morning, the boy not only had fetched the water, but had done the morning chores as well. The cattle were out grazing by the time the old man woke up. When Keelan returned in the evening, the old man stared at him in silent wonder. His mind burned with curiosity, but something about the boy stopped him from asking questions. By and by, the rains fell, and the land turned a glistening green. The old man's heart was full of joy. His face became brighter and his step more youthful. Keelan continued to amaze the old man with his strange deeds. But though he was curious, he asked no questions. In time, he regarded Keelan as the son he'd never had. The rains were followed by drought. And now here's the context clue. The sun hooked its claws into the soil, and a flaming sky burned up the grass and dried up the spring. Buzzards darkened the sky, waiting for the cattle to die of thirst. Yeah, so there's several clues as to what a drought is here. It says the sun hooked its claws into the soil, and a flaming sky burned up the grass and dried up the spring. A drought is a time when no rain falls, and it's difficult to get water. The old man shuddered. He watched the circling birds and murmured, "If it doesn't rain soon, we will be dead." "No, we won't die," the boy said, with a faraway look in his eyes. The next evening, when Keelan came home from the pasture, the old man had the greatest shock of his life. His cattle were fatter and rounder than he had ever seen them. The old man couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. "Keelan," he burst out, "the drought has burned up the last blade of grass and the last drop of water. By the stars above, how do you bring the cattle home with their bellies bursting from good grazing?" A little sparkle lit the boy's eyes. "It's something I learned from my father. He had a hidden power over the drought, and he passed that power on to me. But it will work only as long as it remains my secret and mine alone. He told me never to reveal it." Suddenly, an urge to understand everything came over the old man. "Please tell me," he pleaded. "You can trust me. I won't breathe a word of your secret to a soul." Keelan shook his head. "A secret known to two is no secret," he said. "I must not tell you, and you must never seek to know. For the day you discover my secret will be the end of your good fortune." The drought worsened. The plains echoed with the groans of dying beasts. But under the boy's care, the old man prospered. More calves were born than ever before, and there was more milk than even a growing boy could drink. But as the old man's fortune grew, so did his curiosity. Each day, his longing to know the boy's secret sharpened until he thought of nothing else. His face became clouded with worry, and he seemed to age more than ever. Unable to sleep one night, the old man sat by the fire. His shadow glared down at him from the wall of the hut. He watched as Keelokan slept peacefully, and for the umpteenth time murmured to himself, "I wish he would tell me. I would give anything to know his secret." Suddenly, a gruff whisper came from the wall. "Why don't you find out?" The old man was speechless as his shadow continued. "You could have found out long ago, if only you had used your brains." Excited, the old man whispered back, "What a fool I've been. Now why didn't I think of that?" Then his face fell. "But I mustn't know. The boy—" "Forget the boy," snapped the shadow. "How long will you suffer because of a silly little secret that a silly little child wants to hide from you? Besides, he doesn't need to know. You only have to be careful." For the rest of the night, the old man plotted and planned. He would find out how Keelokan worked his wonders. He would. By this time tomorrow, the secret would be his too. The boy would never know. He would be as sly as a jackal. When Keelokan got up in the morning, the old man pretended to be asleep. He lay still on his bed and listened to the boy's movements as he did the morning chores. Then the hut became quiet as Keelokan herded the cattle out. The old man crept from his bed and followed at a safe distance. The boy walked quickly with the cattle moving well ahead of him. When he was a good distance from the compound, he stopped. The old man scrambled for cover just in time. Keelokan turned to look in all directions. Satisfied that no one was about, Keelokan climbed a rock and raised his arms. Instantly, the sun dimmed as a powerful glow spread down the boy's arms and through his body. But from his hiding place, the old man watched, and what he saw next took his breath away. Suddenly, he was in the midst of magnificent waist-high grass, beautiful green woods, and cool gushing springs. His cattle were drinking blissfully, their udders loaded with milk. A cry of wonder escaped his lips before the old man could stop it. Keelokan turned and saw him. For an instant, the boy looked into the old man's eyes. Gone was the trust they had shared. In its place was only sorrow. The old man threw himself to the ground with a cry of despair and covered his face as the boy exploded into a blinding star. As he rose quickly into the air, the sun gradually regained its sparkle and majesty. The old man stood up. Gone was the waist-high grass. Gone were the green woods and gushing streams. Gone were the fattened cattle with loaded udders. There was only scrubland now, barren and drought-stricken. Thin, scraggly cows wandered about the parched countryside, waiting for the rain that should come soon. Lonelier than he had ever been in his life, the old man plodded slowly home. Waiting for him there in his favorite bowl was steaming hot, milky tea, just as Keelokan had made it that very first morning. But the hut was empty. That evening, a lone star shone down from the west. Unlike other stars, it neither flickered nor twinkled. At dawn, ringed by the first rain clouds, it looked down from the east. The old man watched it in sad recognition. It was the star that had disappeared from the sky so many nights ago, the night that Keelokan came. The star is the planet Venus. At dawn, it appears in the east as the morning star. At nightfall, it is the evening star in the west. The Maasai call it Keelokan, the orphan boy, who is up at dawn to herd out the cattle after morning chores, and who returns to the compound at nightfall for the evening milking. And that's it. That's the end of The Orphan Boy, a story from Africa told by the Maasai people. If you have any comments, please leave them. I look forward to hearing your feedback. If you know any of our classmates who might not be able to see this, please let them know and tell them about it. And hopefully they can check it out and comment as well. I hope that you and your families are well, and I look forward to seeing you, I hope, very soon. All right.